Now, last night I predicted that most Democrats would glean all the wrong lessons from the Republican victories. And today I was proven right. The progressives were back at it on Capitol Hill today. Instead of hitting the brakes on their radical spending spree, they want to slam on the accelerator.
Does it change the agenda for the House? No.
Is paid family leave going back into the bill without Joe Manchin's okay?
You know, I'm so excited that it is going back into the bill. It's been a priority of the Progressive Caucus for a long time, and we're thrilled.
I think Terry McAuliffe has been saying for weeks that his fate was tied to the progress of negotiations here on Capitol Hill, and there ought to be a clear message to my party.
Senator, what went wrong last night?
Failure to deliver.
Okay, well, all wrong. You know, they're still misreading the electorate. Bernie Sanders was not elected president. Biden was. Now, sure, Blumenthal's right. There was a failure to deliver, but McAuliffe turned out a record number of Democrat voters. But the problem was Republicans came out in bigger numbers, and not for spending trillions on new entitlements or amnesty for illegals, an end to our energy independence, none of that. Now, this was one of my favorite exchanges of the day with a liberal, it was a progressive member of the House Appropriations Committee. Now, even the CNN anchor seemed exasperated.
What lessons can be learned, in your view, from the Virginia race?
Number one thing is they wanted Democrats with majorities to get something done.
But you didn't get it done before the Virginia race because progressives were holding up the infrastructure bill.
Reporters, so I'm a journalism major. The only people who ask me when we're going to pass the bill are reporters.
But the infrastructure bill could have actually it was passed in August. It's been, what, 4 months? So that could have actually created Democrats could have said they passed something.
You guys are all an anxious sort. I understand.
Right, but you're saying that you can run on a message of,
if you'll let me finish, I'll be glad
ahead.
to. Yeah, it's a lot easier if I'm allowed to talk too.
I have been giving you plenty of time.
You needed to get both bills done to get that done, and we now have paid and family medical leave for 4 weeks in the bill and a prescription drug benefit.
But you know the Senate isn't.
And people will feel that. What we call this is the storm before the calm.
Okay. The man sits on the Appropriations Committee, and he thinks next year is going to be the calm because we're going to spend trillions of dollars and eventually just make energy more and more expensive for the average American. And by the way, magically, the new climate core will miraculously make inflation disappear. Isn't that a great trick? Now, voters in Virginia and New Jersey are not stupid. They know what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin, the whole crew, want to do. And they know it's going to cause more inflation and lower the standard of living for everyone but the very rich or the very well-connected. Suburban moms cared a lot about education for sure, but the economy, supply chain issues, empty stores on Christmas, that bothers them a heck of a lot too. Democrats managed to even lose 75th House of Delegates district in Virginia, which is majority black. Of course, the very forces that drag the Democrats down, though, are still betting it all on the race issue.
Youngkin played the race card for a reason, because he knows it works on certain white voters.
Racism raised its ugly head, and the Republican candidate used it very aptly.
They're feeding them anger, they're feeding them resentment.
Some of it was dog whistle racism.
1,000%.
But
okay, it's time for Biden impersonation. It's not working. The example of the Jamaican-born Winsome Sears, you just saw her on Sean Hannity, is Virginia's new Republican lieutenant governor. She makes them all look like frauds. Oh, and a few were talking about Cuban-American Jason Miyares, who won the race for Attorney General in Virginia. Now, both are firsts in the Old Dominion. But, of course, we know Democrats only prattle on about firsts when they're on their team. The populist conservative movement was already gaining Hispanic support under Trump, and that support is only growing. Sean Trende of Real Clear Politics noted that so the shifts in New Jersey should be much more concerning to Democrats than the more or less uniform swing we saw in Virginia. Biggest swings from 2017 are in heavily Hispanic areas. Now, we're going to talk more about the Hispanic issue later on in the show. But somehow, Democrats conclude that the way to stop the bleed with Hispanic voters is to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on climate change and universal pre-K? And how exactly will Hispanic small business owners, and there are thousands and thousands, stay fully staffed when Democrat policies will just make it easier for people to stay home longer? My friends, this is sheer madness. Trump's pre-COVID economic success demonstrated how to do it. He did it. The fact is, Democrats long ago, though, lost touch with the beating heart of America, which is its middle class, the blue-collar workforce. Their jobs were exported overseas, and the old establishment didn't care, frankly, of either party. Their fathers and sons are now dying from drugs crossing our southern border. They don't care. They're losing their jobs because of vax mandates, but the Democrats don't care. They're in favor of vax mandates. And now these same blue-collar workers are struggling to fill up their gas tanks, and no one on the left cares. Perhaps Democrats should remember what happened the last time they rammed through their dream legislation despite having zero Republican support.
You see all that red, you see all that flashing at home. Those are Republican pickups, and we are nowhere near finished. We do know the Republicans will win more than 50 seats, most likely more than 60 seats. And, Wolf, it is everywhere. It is north, south, east, west. Liberals are being beat. Moderates are being beat. It is a shellacking.
The 2010 results were a total rejection of the partisan passage of Obamacare. But Obama himself didn't try to dodge responsibility.
Yesterday's vote confirmed what I've heard from folks all across America. People are frustrated. They're deeply frustrated with the pace of our economic recovery and the opportunities that they hope for their children and their grandchildren. And as president, I take responsibility for that.
Now, today, of course, his Veep for 8 years refused to take any responsibility.
Given what you said, do you take some responsibility?
I'm not sure that I would be able to have changed the number of very conservative folks who turned out in the red districts who were Trump voters, but maybe.
You won the state by 10 points.
No, I know we did, but I was running against Donald Trump.
Oh my, that is such an embarrassing answer. But while the Democrats' willful ignorance is a boon to Republicans, and it is, it's going to be terrible for the country. Those who least deserve to suffer will be forced to suffer. Those who least deserve a big payday will get one. But a year from now, all Americans will have their say in the midterms. And the day after, the same experts who keep getting paid to be wrong will again try to explain away the Democrats' defeat, never acknowledging that it's because their policies are destroying the American dream. It's the definition of insanity, and that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.